Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our meeting on the 15th of October, special council meeting. I opened the meeting at 6:30. Before we start, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians. Our meeting is being held on the traditional lands of the Wurundjeri Worrolong people. On behalf of Banyule City Council, I wish to acknowledge them as the traditional custodians. I would also like to pass my respects to any Wurundjeri Worrolong people, elders, past, present, emerging, and to acknowledge any Aboriginal Torres Strait Islanders joining us today. And I'd also like to read our diversity statement. Our community is made up of diverse cultures, beliefs, abilities, bodies, sexualities, ages and genders. We are committed to access, equity, participation and the rights of everyone. Principles that empower, foster harmony and increase the wellbeing of an inclusive community. I would now like to pass on to our Chief Executive Officer, Mrs Alison Beckwith, who will read out the formalities.
Thank you, Mayor. Welcome all to this special council meeting. My name is Alison Beckwith and I'm the Chief Executive Officer here at Banyule. Tonight's meeting is being live streamed via Council's website and Facebook page. The live stream is not interactive. Any comments or private messages directed to us while the stream is live will not be presented to the Council group or have any bearing on tonight's meeting. Tonight's meeting is being held in person in accordance with the provisions of Chapter 2, Division 1, Rule 13, Sub-Rule 3 of Council's Governance Rules and Local Government Act 2020. Further, the special meeting of Council has been called to consider the adoption of the Banyule City Council's Annual Report 23-24 pursuant to Council's statutory obligations set out in Section 100 of the Local Government Act 2020. This special council meeting has been called in accordance with Section 87 of Council's election period policy and is appropriate to be held during the caretaker period because of the following reasons. The recommendation before Council to present the annual report cannot be held over until after the election period, after the 26th of October, 6 p.m, is pursuant to a statutory requirement of the Act, and the recommendation before Council to present, receive, note the annual report is not defined as a prohibited or significant decision. The timing of the report is also reliant on the Victoria Audit General's approval of Council's annual financial statements and performance reports. Council is required to detail a written notice of any special meeting, and as per this notice, only the business detailed in that notice and listed in the agenda can be transacted. As per the notice, there will be no public questions time tonight and no request to speak or submissions of petitions. Just a friendly reminder to those present in the gallery tonight, we have a zero tolerance for any form of bullying, harassment or violence. Everyone present in the gallery, community members, members of council staff and councillors are expected to respect the individual views of all others irrespective of their own view held and respectfully participate in tonight's meeting. If any members of the public gallery depart the chamber while the meeting is still in progress, we ask that you please do not hold conversations just outside the foyer area until after the meeting is closed, because noise does actually reverberate up into the chamber. I'll now introduce you to the councillors in attendance tonight. I will start to my left. I have Councillor Peter Castaldo, Councillor Peter Demorellis and Councillor Alison Champion. And to my right, I have the Mayor, Councillor Tom Melican, the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Rick Garotti, Councillor Alida McKern and Councillor Elizabeth Neely, noting that Councillor Di Pasquale is an apology at this stage. This evening we are also joined by our Director team, Mark Gilio, Director of Corporate Services, Darren Bennett, Director of Assets and City Services, Natasha Swan, Director of City Development, and Joseph Tobacco, Director of Community Wellbeing. Thank you for participating in tonight's meeting, and I'll hand back to you, Mayor.
Thank you, Alison. I will note that there is one apology tonight, Councillor Mark Di Pasquale, who will be attending, but he's running a little bit late. Disclosure of interest. Councillors, as required by other meetings, councillors must declare a conflict of interest at the start of the meeting and leave the meeting when that item is presented to councillors. Councillors will be required to leave the meeting and return the item has been resolved. At any point throughout the meeting, if any councillor recognised they have general material items, they can flag at that point and follow the same procedure. Are there any disclosures of interest tonight? There are none. Disclosures of interest from staff. Officers that are present, I ask you whether they have a conflict of interest with any of the items presented tonight. There are none. So we move on to the report item at 3.1, Annual Report 23-24. As explained by the CEO, the caretaker period, there are no requests to speak to this item, so I'll therefore look for a councillor to move a report. Move Councillor Garotti. Questions, Councillor Garotti?
Yeah, if that's okay, Mayor, just a few brief questions. Just, I noticed that in the foreword, the message is from the Chief Executive. And typically in annual reports, the message is either a joint one from the Mayor and CEO, and seeking clarification as to why that's not the case in this particular document.
Could Governance please respond to that question? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Grotti, and through you, Mayor. So you'll be aware that this meeting is being held in the caretaker period, otherwise known as the election period. And there are a range of requirements that Council and councillors must adhere to, particularly as it relates to the Mayor being a spokesperson of the Council in publications and release of information. So for the annual report, the statement and the foreword is submitted by the CEO as the key spokesperson for the organisation.
During this time being caretaker.
Further questions, anyone? Look for a councillor to move a motion. Move Councillor Neely, seconded Councillor Champion. Comment?
Thank you. I'm just moving the motion and just clarifying that I was a previous member on the library board as well. And yeah, I'm not sure if that's the right time for this.
Yes, it will be required because the attachment is attached, so we'll need to make that amendment now.
Okay.
Is the seconder happy with that amendment?
Yes, she is, Mayor.
Thank you. Comment?
Thank you. Yes. This report is about how the organisation is delivering our community vision. The vision reflects the community's values and priorities for the next 17 years. I'd just like to highlight that the statement has some really important key words: sustainable, inclusive, connected, belong, protect environment, which really does sum up our community really well. This is a community of 129,000 people. As we know, Banyule is predominantly residential. There's 49,000 households. There's significant parklands. Council is committed to our First Nations people with our Marrigill strategy. Council's connected with our multicultural community, our young and our older adults. Engaging with older adults to stay active, for example, is a priority through good programming and good infrastructure. I really do enjoy seeing older adults using our outdoor park equipment. The multitude of festivals that are there for the organisation to connect and engage with residents. Banyule Council is across what's happening in the local government sector and is engaging with other councils to attract funding. A lot of our advocacy efforts have paid off, with Diamond Creek Road being one of just 5 roads across the state to get funding. The funding is for a pedestrian signalised crossing near Civic Drive, which is such a win for the organisation. Council's in a good financial position, investing $43 million in infrastructure projects in 2023 to 2024, meeting our community's expectations. Banyule celebrates its volunteers, engages with local artists, provides home and community care services. So they're just things from the report that I thought was worth highlighting. There's so much more, and I'll allow my fellow councillors to speak. I've got faith that council's policies and frameworks enable all this to happen. There are still challenges in the community. Unfortunately, things like family violence, discrimination, emergency relief, and particularly food relief in the area. And as a council, we will look to increase information and participation in our services and programs, and always on that journey of continuously improving. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Further comment? Are there any further comments? Councillor Grotti?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just, I won't comment on the substance of the report, just given the caretaker period. Just a few comments for a future consideration of the next council, but in regards to the forward, completely take on board the feedback of governance, but I think it would be worth highlighting in future that due to the caretaker provisions, a forward from the Mayor is not permissible, because the very fact that we're here adopting the annual report is instructive of the fact that it is our document as a council to the community, and that does not come through in the CEO forward. Completely understand the reasons why, but I think for transparency purposes in the future, that would be warranted. I've always found it a little bit interesting that the qualifications of the executive management team are included in the annual report, but not the councillors. Again, I'll leave that for a future council to reflect upon. On page 45, I just found wording on council's role to review and confirm the strategic direction of council interesting. I thought that council had a clear role in helping with management and the community to set the strategic direction of the council. And finally, just as a final observation, I note that it states that minutes of the Audit and Risk Committee are provided at the next ordinary council meeting. I don't believe that's always been the case. So again, we may need to, future council might want to look at that wording in that section of the report. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Are there further comments? Councillor McKern? Councillor McKern?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to take this opportunity to show some gratitude. I think both councillors Neely and Councillor Grotti have explained relevant aspects of the annual report and raised queries. But I think too, 4 years down the track, it's timely to express thanks to the organisation, our council staff, my fellow councillors, and also our community, who in my opinion have, and it's reflected in the annual report, put in a solid performance. And another important part of an annual report is to present performance and financial statements, which this report does, and I think it shows a healthy balance on both parts for this term of council. So thank you to everyone who's made this 4 years what it has been and what we've achieved. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. There are no further comments. I'll just pass a few comments. This is on the back of what has been a fairly tough term of council, you'd have to say. COVID certainly disrupted a lot of things. We've had massive cost increases, lack of materials, and cost of living pressures. But through that, we've managed to achieve some major developments. We've implemented our hardship policies. Our customer satisfaction remains high. And I think we, as Councillor Grotti talked about, we have set a vision, and we've worked with other levels of government to achieve a lot in this term. And I know we're not allowed an election year, but I'm not running for re-election, so I'll pass a few comments. I think we see this roads, rates and rubbish agenda that some people push, and getting back to basics. I don't want a basic council. I want a good council. And I think this is a good council because we look after people that are vulnerable in our community. We protect our environment, and we make sure that people that are struggling get a fair go. And I think this is a council that we can be proud of. It's a council that I'm very proud of. We have some absolutely fantastic staff who achieve so much, and it's been an absolute pleasure and an honour to be part of this council. And I think this report reflects what a good, harmonious, hard-working council we have been. And I know it's easy to criticise local government, but I think looking around this room, I could not be more proud of what we have achieved as a group, and we will look back at what we have done with pride. And we'll be able to drive around this city and see the difference we have made in our term. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Alison and your staff, for all you've done for us. Thanks to my fellow councillors, and thanks to the residents for having the faith to elect us 4 years ago, and I hope we have done you proud. So with that, I'll put that. All those in favour? That is carried. Thanks, Noel. There are no confidential meetings items tonight. Thank you for your attendance. The next council meeting will be held for the election of the Mayor and Deputy Mayor on the 18th of November, and the next ordinary meeting of council will be on the 25th of November. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. We should also mention our families, because our families do give up a lot to enable us to be here, and we should not forget that, and we should never take it for granted that what we have, the privilege we've been given, but the opportunities we have. So, and I just hope that the next council will work well together, and I wish them every success. Thank you, everybody.